All right, we're recording. All right, folks, you're listening to the Amazing Vito uh, show. I've got the one and only Bobby Blaze, former professional wrestler. Uh, Bobby is also not only was he a professional wrestler, Bobby is also he's got a wicked podcast. Okay, it's called Bell to Bell with Bobby Blaze, and I listen to it all the time. I'll get into that in one sec. And he's also an accomplished author, an award-winning author, where he has done. Even my wife stunned at how good these books are. The first one is, I love these titles. Okay, it's Pin Me, Pay Me, Have Boots, Will Travel. I love that. And then I kicked out in two, and the second one is I kicked out in two, The Education of a Wrestler. Now, I'm not kidding. Go out there. You could order these books. Um, I mean, it's locked down. You got nothing better to do. You'll be blown away by the stories, struggles. I mean, there's so much in there. There's so much that you don't know about pro wrestling that you look at. You just go, I didn't know he went all through that. You don't know these things until you read them, and it's not bullshit. People like to. I hate the saying when people go, professional wrestling is fake. I find that offensive. Um, hey man, picking up a guy. I mean, when Bobby was wrestling, he was 6'1", 250 pounds of muscle. You could look that up, Google it. You could see him. He was nothing but muscle. Picking guys up for a living and chucking them on their head. Well, not on their head. You don't want to kill the guy.
Yeah.
Doing that for a living, okay, takes a toll on anybody's body. And if you think that's fake, then you're an idiot. Then you get in the ring, try it out, see how well you do, and you realize that this is not fake. This is a beautiful dance they're putting on when you see two wrestlers wrestle, and
Yeah.
it's this wonderful dance that they're doing. They're putting on a show for you, and they could put on a show for you that they could either get paralyzed or killed. So when people say it's fake, they are idiots, and I don't get that. Anyways, it's an honor to have you, Bobby. How you doing?
All right. Thank you. Well, first of all, it's great to be on your show. I appreciate it. I'm doing good. I usually say when people use that F word, I say, "Do you kiss your mother a fat mouth?" I drop a lot of F bombs, but I don't use the one in reference to professional wrestling because I always say everything you see actually happens. And I appreciate the plug on my books because I wrote them from the heart. And I was going to say they're not full of bullshit. It's just stuff I actually lived through. And I appreciate the opportunity to be on your podcast, man. And I appreciate the compliments and look forward to this interview and let's have a good time with it. I appreciate the respect that you have for professional wrestling. When you was talking about it being a dance, man, that just really clicked in my head about when I was first training. I trained with the great Malenko, and then along came Dean and Joe Malenko. Dean more so than Joe. Joe helped me towards the end with a lot of little things, but after about 4 months, Dean kind of really took over my training after my conditioning phase. But what I was going to get at is Malenko would say you're like a dance partner. I'm kind of implicating locking up here, not fighting. But I was taught to protect your opponent, that's your partner, like a dance partner. And yeah, I've had a lot of injuries. I'm not here to bitch and moan and piss off about that or talk about getting hurt or other people get hurt, but people do, and that's the reality of it. And like you said, sometimes this has resulted in death even, unfortunately. But anyway, yeah, it can be a beautiful dance, and I've got to work and wrestle and dance all around the world. And when you got that right chemistry of someone, man, it can be a beautiful thing. Just putting on a match for 10 people or 10,000 people. It's just it's a beautiful. I got to experience something very beautiful by living my dream, being a professional wrestler. And I was fortunate enough to be trained the proper way and also be able to work with a lot of other talented people along the way coming up, and also when I was further into my career. So yeah, thank you. I've got to get a drink.
No,
Water, really for a beer right now, but I'm having a drink of water.
no, me too. Well, I got vodka in this baby. You can't tell.
So I'll have a cyber beer with you later on, maybe. But yeah, I should have had a shot, maybe, but I didn't. I'm good.
There's a match that's real quick. People that don't know, if you don't know who Dean Malenko is, you've been living under a rock.
Yeah.
People say Bret Hart is one of the most technical wrestlers out there. Dean Malenko would have to be a Porsche. I mean, he is just lightning quick, fast.
Oh,
I mean, the moves that he pulls.
Yeah, he's Dean the Machine, man. I was over in Australia with him in '93, and we had some guys from WWF, several guys from New Japan was on the tour, and then several guys from Canada actually. And it was the last day of the tour, after 20 some odd days or something. Another Malenko guy named Frankie Reyes was one of the referees, and this is back in '93, and Dean was in the ring working, and he just looked at me. He said, "Man, Dean is one of the most underrated workers in the world. Just look at him go." And it was incredible. And then a couple years later, '97, he was the PWI Wrestler of the Year, and he's went on to WCW and WWE, and now I guess with AEW. But yeah, back in the day, man, Dean was just the best. He could just he could work with anyone, do any style. I've seen him do just the Japanese style, the slow down American style. He's done the lucha style. He can just go. I've had several matches with him. The very first one, man, I was a nervous wreck, and like I said, I had been training. I had matches, this and that, and we were in the ring a couple of days before, just training. Myself and another guy I knew I was wrestling Dean on Saturday, and he just looked at me and said, "What's the matter?" I'm a little bit nervous about Saturday, and the other guy's standing off to the side. He's waiting to try to do. We're showing him a move or something, and Dean goes, "Bobby, I'm the least person in the world you need to be worried about or nervous about getting in a ring with." And then it was just that comfort that I just got to chill, tell you. And we got to the match. It was just like I told you in the tweet exchange, easy like a Sunday morning, man. He's just there and he goes, and you're just like, okay, and you just go with it. It's amazing. It really is. Have a lot of respect for him, always have. He was one of the best in the world at one time, and that's saying a lot. So,
well,
yeah.
The thing that with Dean, you know what they say, the total package. You have to have the total package, and that's what I found hard. I mean, these days, the wrestling of today, I don't know. It just doesn't speak to me, Bobby. It just doesn't. It just doesn't.
I don't watch a lot of new stuff either. It just doesn't speak to me. And since honestly, since this COVID, since lockdown and stuff, I was really, my partner, Jeremy, from the Geekish Cast on our podcast, we decided to try to, maybe watch a little bit of, I watched a little bit of SmackDown, but I went to the NXT versus AEW type thing. And of course, there's no fans. So I was like, we had thought, well, maybe we'll watch some, so we'll have something more up to date, because we do like an old school podcast. And he was like, would he contact me? We talk, pre-record and stuff. And I was like, man, I can't do it. I'm not into it. It just doesn't do anything for me. I was following at NWA for a while. And unfortunately, they may be out of business. I don't know, but I liked a couple of their stars and what they were trying to do with the YouTube and building up their own little new, NWA thing. And I guess this COVID really struck them hard. I know a lot of people's kind of left that company, and you got to go where you can get a paycheck out. And a lot of those people are talented. And again, this is nothing against anyone working in WWE or AEW, Impact, or Ring of Honor, anywhere. There's a lot of talented athletes and wrestlers out there, male and female. And it's just, to me, though, I'm not a big fan of what I see of today's product. And that's not a dig towards talent, more so. It may be the writing, because I don't think you need writing. I think you need one person to say, okay, we need a booker, and this is the matches we're putting on, and that's that,
Yeah, that was my take on it. As I mean, earlier I told you I could have been a writer for WWE. It didn't work out, but my whole thing was, and this is what I said, you know, um, get rid of most of the writers,
Yeah.
right?
Hmm.
And just you got to work with, just say I work with you and you're green, okay?
Hmm.
I don't need. Here's the problem that I'm seeing. You're making guys that are wrestlers. You're trying to make them into actors.
Yeah.
Re-
Yeah. Good
reading
point.
reading lines, reading it, and it's like, no, no, just go. All I need to do is go up to you, and I go, Bobby. I guess we got to figure out heel, baby face, okay, whatever you are. If you're a baby face or a heel, then I sit there and I go, okay, Bobby, you got this is what I've written out. You tell me what you like from it and
Yeah.
what you
Yeah.
what you can remember from it. Okay, but you got to talk from yourself.
Yeah.
You got to be like a Stone Cold. You got to be like the guys of old, like where they just
Yeah.
talk from their heart, and
Yeah. Well,
that's what made it believable.
what helped me a lot, like when I went over to, I got a big break in Canada out in the Maritimes, and so obviously I'm gonna be a heel out there, and with my accent and just my Southern style wrestling, it really worked. And then I got to go to Australia and South Africa. Well, of course, when I'm a heel and I speak, with the accent's a lot different. But when I came to Smoky Mountain Wrestling, Jim Cornette gave me my first big break in the U.S. The thing about that was he would just give me bullet points. He was like, Bobby, these people
Yeah,
that you're wrestling in front of every night are basically your people, the same kind of people, Appalachian people, Smoky Mountain people. He said, he said, all you've got to do is you're going to be a baby face, not a heel. So you don't yell and cuss. He said, just talk, and here's some bullet points on who you're going to be wrestling, what towns I need you to promote. He said, because I want you to think, we had talked about this before. He said, think about that little 10-year-old redheaded kid that was in front of his TV every Saturday that was cheering for the baby face. I was like, well, Jimmy, I chill for the heels, but yeah, I get your point. So I just had to bring up the memory of when that one kid's out there and he's like, Bobby, Bob. And so when I was taking my beatings or making my comeback or got on the mic, I only had bullet points of, man, in Knoxville this Saturday, me and Amazing Vito, what you did to me last week wasn't right. But I'm going to prove to all these fans, and I'm going to prove to you, Vito, I'm going to get my just due with you this Saturday in Knoxville. And that's that, you know what I'm saying? And then a heel comes back with whatever he wants to do to me. But it's that easy. You don't have to remember the entire script. You give me 3 or 4 bullet points, and then we go. And the same thing with the dance. Give me an opening maybe. Maybe we'll do this, maybe we'll do that. Listen to the people. Here's the finish. You're going over, you're going to pull my tights, you're going to hit me with the gimmick, whatever it is to build up for next week's program.
yeah,
We'll have a run in, blow it off for the next person coming in.
yeah.
It's a simple business.
Well, they make it difficult. That's the problem.
Yeah, yeah.
I think what the problem is, Vince had too many guys tell him you need soap opera writers, you need this shit and I just thought, no, man, just go old school. Just
Yeah,
do it. That's what people want, old school. Okay.
yeah. I think a lot of people want that.
I do not. I was never a fan of guys jumping, you know, off a ladder on top of somebody's
Yeah,
head. To me, it did nothing for me. It turned me
yeah,
off because
yeah.
I just sat there and I go, Bobby, this guy's killing himself for what?
Yeah,
I believed. I mean, when any wrestler, I always, you reach a certain age when you're watching it, and all of a sudden you fall in love with a heel. You just something just you just go, why do I like him? Because he's so bad, because he gets away with murder, he gets all the hot chicks, okay? And you know what I mean? Like you just
absolutely.
you fall in love with a heel. And then
Yeah,
there's other heels out there that you love to see get the shit knocked out of them.
yeah. That you
Okay?
love to hate.
Yeah, you love, and the reason is Bobby Heenan was great. He would say
Yeah,
stuff like,
absolutely.
he would say stuff like, the job of a manager is to get people in the seats to come watch the heel get his head kicked in, get his ass kicked
Yeah.
handed to him. That's all.
Yeah.
You got to build it up, build it up.
Yeah.
Well, every week you watch wrestling now, and every week it's a title for this, and you're going to fight for this title. There's no build up.
The one thing that we talk about on the Bell to Bell podcast is used to, and a not so distant, past, the buildup. You would take some matches 12 or 18 months, and each week or each month it built up more and more until you that heel, you're chasing them, he's chasing the belt, whatever it may be, whether the baby face is got the belt or the heel, whoever's doing what business. But the bottom line was there was a build-up. You just didn't tune on the channel and see a cage match next week or a boxer versus wrestler match. There was always a meaning for it. So the first week the guy gets hit with a roll of quarters and gets fucked, Yeah. Okay, so you tune back in next week and then he gets them again. Someone else goes, so you know what we're going to do? And you build it over the time period. And of course that builds your houses up too. And that's when guys, of course, worked off the house. And I'm glad some of these guys are getting these huge contracts, this big money. That's all good and well. But it's like you can just turn on TV and for no reason, these girls are in a cage match. And that's the first fucking match off the show. And you're like, well, where do you go from there? Yeah. I want to be jacked off a little bit before I climax. I don't want to just turn it on like, well, that's the best match right there. That's just your opening match. You got two, or in a lot of cases, well, I guess on Raw mostly, a lot of shows, I guess 3 hours of TV to fill. And that's what it is. They're now television shows that have professional wrestling. They're not professional wrestling that's on TV or television. And that's what I think people miss. We have this thing, if I say sport, I don't hate that word. I won't even say it. But anyway, I love professional wrestling. And that's the difference is there was pro wrestling on television that you enjoyed and got to build up. And if you're lucky enough, go to an arena, once a month or an armory or what have you, even a local high school, but you could follow a program as opposed to now they have, this is a television program, and this television program is called Raw or Nitro or Impact or whatever it may be, you know what I'm saying? So needed to sit.
Yeah, well, that was the thing that I think it's too much. It's just, there's that saying, too much of a good thing. What's that saying? It's too much of a good thing ruins it, right? If you get laid every night, no, that's actually good. But if you have,
good luck.
Hey,
nowadays with COVID, hell.
If you have chocolate every day, okay, every day you have chocolate, you're gonna get sick of it for about a couple of weeks later. You're gonna go, I can't. I love chocolate, but tonight I just can't have chocolate. Okay,
right.
So and I get it that they need to be making money or whatever, but they're hurting their product, because when I grew up watching it, it was very different, man. Very different.
For sure.
It was very raw.
Yeah.
Okay. And that's what you loved about it. And what I loved about a wrestler, okay, was if I saw you walking down the street, I would say, I don't want to mess with that guy. And number two is, that guy looks like a wrestler. I don't need to go up to him and say, hey, you a wrestler? He looks like he could tear my arms off.
Can me, pay me? That's what I put in this one right here. I always thought, if you're a professional wrestler, when I was 10 and 15 years old, when I was 15, I decided to be I was watching something on TV, and I was like, that's what I want to do one day. But when I was 10, 11, and 12, and I'd go to the armory here in my local area, and I see that guy, and I knew that that's one bad motherfucker. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
If whether he had the bleached hair or the big tan or the big muscle, whatever it was, I didn't have to say, man, is that a professional wrestler? I knew. And the thing was, you don't mess with that guy. You know, no one's gonna mess with him. He's the baddest motherfucker in the jungle, so to say. And I want to. Oh, it costs money to go and see him. I want to pay or get it to go and see him perform or wrestle or fight. And back in the day, you know, that's the thing now. And sometimes it's. I see some of these, and this is again, it's just the evolution of the sport and of television, I guess. And it's not a dig towards anyone's height or weight, but sometimes I look at these guys, and I'm like, fuck. Back in the day, look, my 9-year-old could whip this guy, you know, or stuff like that. And I go, I got a high schoolers on a wrestling team, and I understand the entertainment part, hot tooey. I'm like, I know he can't hold his own, you know, but when you got back in the day, when you saw these guys, you're like, you just don't want to fuck with them. You didn't, and when they come on TV and cut their interviews, whether they were a heel or a baby face, the way they spoke to the audience, spoke to the fans, and spoke about their opponent, wow, that got your attention. Their physique got your attention. And when they got inside that ring, that kept your attention. That the main three things I always say, I've heard it through the years. You can take several things, make a cake, but you know, mostly you're going to need your milk and your flour and your sugar. We'll just say those three. Okay. I know there's more, there's an egg and what have you. But in a wrestler, you need one, you need to be able to wrestle or work. That's a big plus right there. Number two, great mic skills, being able to speak, you know, and then three, a physique. So you have all three of those and you got that cake. And you take someone, you know, you mentioned a Bret Hart, or you mentioned Stone Cold, or I use Flair a lot, or Hogan, them guys, excellent physiques, could work in the ring and wrestle, and all of them had the great mic skills. You know, same thing. The Road Warriors, look, them guys are like, well, they were so over. Well, they changed the face of wrestling. Here's the thing: they had the physiques. They learned to work. They eventually learned to talk. But in the meantime, they had Paul Ellering do the talking, so they have mouthpiece for. And how many guys did Bobby Heenan? What a great manager, you know. They put him with someone that may not have had the greatest mic skills or even a great body or could wrestle. But here's the thing, he got that person over. And you believed that in his men, who it's going to be, whether it be Bockwinkel or back in the old AWA or Stevens, whoever he's with, and even up in WWF, all the guys are back in the day, WWF, all the guys he was the manager of, he helped them get over even more, you know, just being that mouthpiece and commentator and every little aspect of it, you know what I'm saying?
Yeah, you remember when Bret Hart started, a perfect example was Anvil did all the talking. The first year they were together, Anvil did all the talking. Bret Hart just stood there and smiled, you know, and because Bret Hart was, you know, he just did not have the skill, but he was, you know, it was a learning process. He picked it up, and he owes a lot to, and he even says, you know, I owe a lot to Anvil. You know, you know, you again, you put a guy like Brock Lesnar, who looks like, you know, King Kong with no hair. You put him. The reason why Paul's speaking for him is because his mic skills are not that great.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
It's just the way it is. But back then, you know, you had the Samoans that were, you know, they didn't speak, they didn't need to, and they would have a manager that would speak, and that was the beauty of it. That was the beauty.
Absolutely.
You believed. Here's the thing about wrestling that I tell people, okay? They made you believe that they were a little off.
Yeah.
Okay. So there was no way you would go up to a Wild Samoan, or you would go up to Barbarian, or any of these guys, anybody, Adrian Adonis, anybody. You would never go up to them and be rude or be an idiot. You knew something.
Right.
You knew something was. You believed that they would beat the tar out of you. So
you know, it says believability factory.
Bobby, it's that aura. You know when somebody gives you that aura?
You put that aura out. And the thing about it was, it come to mind also, you mentioned the Wild Samoans. Another one come to mind was Kamala, the Ugandan giant. You know, he had to have someone speak for him. He had to have someone hold him back or let him go. Barbarian, you know, like you're saying. just you didn't want to mess with them because of that believability factor, and as that little while you're tuning in or while you're at the arena, you could suspend your belief for that 2 or 3 hour period. Back in the day, about 2 hours, and you really believed because there was no reason to doubt. There was no reason to doubt. I'm not going to be idiot enough to say something to those two wild Samoans that don't speak English, that are wild, islands of Samoa, or whoever it was, and also they're big and strong. And like I said, that whole aura, man, is that's one bad motherfucker, or that's a bad tag team. Like you were saying, even Bret Hart had a great physique, and he was in the ring doing all that stuff. But at that point, Neidhart's doing the talking. Then you bring in Jimmy Mouth to the South. Well, now neither one of them really have to talk, and they got the Hart Foundation, and they're that much more over, and they're getting to work with guys they already worked with, as like out in Calgary and stuff, the Bulldogs, and all them guys could just go. Wherever it was, they were wrestling, Calgary, Japan, and of course, once they got the WWF, it's just like, what these guys, they had the experience. You know what I'm saying? They already been around the world a couple of times, and they knew how to work. They knew how to take care of themselves in and out of the ring. If they didn't speak, the one that spoke more would do the talking, and you believed in them.
Oh, yeah. It was, when I was a kid, I used to go to the Maple Leaf Gardens in Toronto and watch the matches, and it was a time that it was a joyous time because you were nervous, right? Because you would wait because you wanted to get an autograph, and back then a heel never gave you an autograph.
There you go. Good.
So, and that's and you could cry about it all you want, but that's just the way it was, Bobby. That's
do you remember a guy from Canada, Goldie Rogers?
Yeah.
Goldie, first time I was up in Canada, man, I was standing there, we was inside the matches are over, and my partner, I'd just been up there from Florida, and I'm behind the glass of the hockey arenas, and these people come over, want an autograph, and Goldie just just starts ripping into me, because I'm like, this is my first territory, and but we're heels, and then it dawned on me, I'm like, fuck, I'm out here 1 minute, fighting a fella, one of the Canadians, one of the baby faces, and I'm putting an ass whooping on them, and then I'm gonna be your friend, and then Goldie was like, fuck autographs, you're a fucking heel,
Yeah, I agree with that.
Things, but it was a good lesson to learn, and then also when you had a hot match, when you knew like a tag team was going to be interfered with at the end or whatever, and you're sitting there watching, you can't be out there watching a match. You can watch, maybe peek behind a curtain, but you're not going to be out there standing there watching, because if the heels come and start chasing the baby faces, they're your friends, you should react. So if someone said, hey, it's a hot finish, you knew not to be fucking seen by the fans, and also some of those heels, they were hated so bad, whether they was really nice guys in real life or not is one thing, but as a heel, they certainly were not going to sign your autograph, man.
Well, Bobby, remember the riots some of them would cause? Like, people forget. People forget that like Ox Baker caused a riot in 1960. It was just I remember some of the, you hear some of the stories, you feel bad for some of the guys because they had to hide inside the vehicle. That's how much they were hated. And to me, that makes my eyes, it makes me happy, because I go, that was wrestling.
Yeah. When guys used to get their tires slashed or the windows broken, sometimes depending what territory they're in, have to get police escorts in and out of the building. It's just the believability factor. They just hated the heels,
People have no idea.
That's
I remember
for a heel, that's a standing ovation for a true heel.
I got into kind of an argument on Twitter with this girl, and she saw a wrestler. This was about 2 or 3 years ago, and the wrestler was rude to kids. and she got a ticket by a police officer, and she told the officer, go, shove it or whatever. But you see, the girl, she didn't understand, and I try to explain it to her. I go, that's the heel's job. I go,
Yeah.
that's the heel's
Yeah.
job. And then afterwards, the police officer, because there was so much heat, and
Yeah.
the police officer said, yeah, listen, we already talked about giving a ticket, and she would throw it in my face. And the girl was still going, well, that's disrespectful. It's still disrespectful and doesn't teach the kids the proper way. And I go, hey, lady, you show your ass for a living. What the hell are you talking about?
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Well,
Like, I mean, to me, it's a no-win situation. What are you talking about? That's the
right.
point of the heel. The heel is
Right.
supposed to make you hate them. Okay, so uh,
Yeah.
this whole I mean, I'll send you a link to. I made a video of me doing a promo, and then me coming out of this promo with my partner, I believe he was, I maybe my name was Bobby Bungalow because I'm short, and he was Skyscraper, right?
Okay.
He's like
Okay.
6'3". So, and I got my face all painted up, and then I do the whole, when I get you, I'm gonna kill you and all that. And then all of a sudden somebody comes and says, hey, you're supposed to be in Cleveland, not in Ohio. And I go, oh darn it, and I do that whole, because you're an actor, and
Yeah, I got you.
I find that disgusting. Okay, you should be a wrestler should be like, when I hear guys going, hey, this is the gimmick they pushed on me, this is what, and my heart wasn't into it, and I could feel it, because I'm like, well, I mean, why are you letting the man dress up like a woman? I mean, why are you forcing him to do stuff that is absolutely not, you're destroying their career, okay? Because you're only going to get a couple of years out of them.
Yeah.
You're going to have this meeting and saying, oh, I didn't work out with him, and to me, it's all bullshit. It should be like, hey, Bobby, what do you want to do? Listen, I got an idea. I got 5 of them. Okay.
Yeah.
This is A, this is B, this is C. What do you think? Do you like any of them? No. Then my job is to come up with
Yeah.
something that'll make you happy, make us both happy. Because if you're happy, you're going to show it out in the ring. Okay. You're going to work harder. You're going to be like, hey
Yeah.
man,
Yeah.
I'm going to give 110, and you make the company money. Okay. You're putting asses on the seats. So
Yeah. I
that's,
saw that sometimes WCW guys coming over doing that. Art wasn't in it anymore.
yeah.
Not to cut you off, that's what I'm saying. I saw that when I was in WCW. Guy would come over and they were just leaving New York to come to Atlanta, and their heart just wasn't like, they was like, this is just my gimmick, man. It's just, I'm just doing this, and they're just going through the motions. And but I have to say, most of the guys I've met are very, very professional. I'm just saying, I have seen what you're talking about with my own 2 eyes, and know, oh man, and I know the guy's a hell of a lot better wrestler, or I know he's a better person in the back than what he's portraying on TV, because but his heart's just like, fuck, I got to do this tonight, and it'd be like, I could see the frustration sometimes. I felt that way myself sometimes working with guys at the power plant. I'd be like, you got to pick it up. I'm here to make you look good. So the more I get as a heel, when you do win, the better you're going to look. And then I had the Dean Malenkos and the Benoits and the Eddie Guerreros telling me the same thing. From the office, Terry Taylor said, Bobby, we're having guys here making you look good. Don't kick out on our finish, because it's kind of what goes around comes around. You're going to have your day too. And it's so much of, but there's guys I've seen come in and they're just like dragging their bag behind them. And it's not from road fatigue. It's just because of gimmick fatigue. It's not them. They just have to turn it on for a few minutes in the ring, and it's just not there anymore. But I have to say, most of the people that I've been around, their heart's in it. I've seen it that when they get in the ring, they turn it on for at least that amount of time. They be madder than hell in the back or dragging their bag or whatever. But once the lights come on, they do perform in the ring. So I've seen kind of both sides of that, to be honest with you.
you know,
So,
I mean,
but I get where you're coming from.
I mean, you must look at some of the guys, and I watched your career when you were at WCW, and a match that sticks out, and I don't want to, when you wrestled Benoit, and people could bury Benoit.
Please bring up.
That is
Yeah.
absolutely one of the most. It looked like two pit bulls fighting over the same bone, doing ballerina.
Yeah.
You know, like that was an absolutely.
Thank you. Let me tell you something.
I literally stood up watching that match, and like stood up. Me and my buddy Chris, who's a big fan.
That's one of my top 5 matches.
It was insane. It was
I appreciate that.
It was unreal, man. You stole the show that night.
That match. Well, actually, that show I did. Chris and I did, and that's not patting myself on the back. That's just the truth. That's one of my top 5 matches. A little bit of background on that. I had been in Australia with Chris Benoit, and I seen him wrestle every night either against Dean Malenko, Jushin Liger, or a tag team of sorts with Joe and Dean. So I knew him the very first day we got there. We actually worked out together at the gym, and just introduced ourselves, and we just went from there. Well, when our careers crossed paths rather in WCW, that night actually was in Toledo, Ohio, and what happened was there was 24 matches, 2 sets of 12 for 2 weeks of TV. We were a 23rd match. Yeah. And it was only about maybe 5,000 people in the arena for a TV tape for Saturday night TV for TBS or whatever it was, the mothership, and actually what was supposed to happen, Chris stood up for me. What happened was they had Mongo McMichael against me in kind of a little bit different kind of match. Mongo thought it was beneath him to wrestle someone like me. He didn't know I could wrestle, didn't know anything about me. So I didn't know any of this was going on. I saw Chris coming at me in the corner of my eye because I was kind of bent over this time my boot, and he goes, "Bobby, can I speak to you?" And I look up and I'm like, "Yeah, sure." And I could just see the intensity in his face. And he stood up and he started talking to me. And we were close. I know we're a computer here, but I'm using my hands. We were up in each other's face because he was talking real kind of quiet but intensely. He was like, "Me and you tonight." And he goes, "We're gonna go out there and we're gonna fucking." And he said, "We're gonna be stiff. We're gonna work." And he goes, "You be thinking of some good things you can do. I know you can work, and I'll be thinking of things, and you know my finish." And I said, "Yeah, that's cool." Well, Eddie Guerrero and Dean Malenko was standing off to the side. And they walked over and they said, "Hey, man, you guys all right?" And Chris said, "Yeah, everything's fine." He walked away. And Dean was like, "Man, we thought you guys were shooting." I said, "No, it's no big deal. Everything's good, So I just started putting my gear on again. Later on, I found out that Scott Armstrong, who's now WWE producer and stuff up there, he walked over and he saw Chris and he said, "Hey, this Bobby Blaze kid, he can rap." He goes, "Forget about it, Scott." He goes, "I know who the fuck he is. I was in Australia with him. I know he worked at Smoky Mountain. Everything's good with us." And they basically told Scott to fuck off. Well, he had gotten so frustrated at those guys in that meeting that Mongo didn't want to work with me. Chris said, "I'll work with you." And he wanted to show them assholes, in his words, "We're going to show these fucking people how to work, Bobby." And so that's how that match could have played. I didn't know any of that until after the fact. And I was unlacing my boots, and Mongo come up to me and he said, "Hey, Bobby, man," he goes, "that was a hell of a match. I didn't know you could wrestle like that." And I go, "Oh, thank you very much." I reached up to shake his hand because he had his hand out. And I know the guy's a legitimate tough guy. He played in the NFL for fucking 15 years. I'm not trying to be a smart ass. And he goes, "Maybe we can fly around sometime." And I go, "Yes, sir, whatever." And I just kind of blew it off. And then later on, I found out what had taken place and why Chris wanted that intensity. And people can bury him for whatever, and that's a whole different story. But on a professional level, for me, to me, it's one of my top 5 matches. And then the next year, a year later, this is what's impressive. And people spoke about that. As soon as it came on, man, people just, and the guys in the back that were still there, like I said, the main event was on that particular program was match 24. So there wasn't that many guys in the back. Once you do your match, you go. But the few guys that were, the Armstrongs and some of the guys that were still there, when I came through that curtain, standing ovation. Same thing for Chris. Grabbed me, hugged me, thanked me, and we went our way. But a year later at that same building, I was traveling with the Armstrong brothers, and Norma Smiley and myself were together, and we're walking, and he looked at me, he goes, Bobby. And I go, yeah. He goes, isn't this, this is a building you and Chris tore the house down in. And I go, fuck, you remember that? And he looked, and he goes, I remember the best match of every card in every building I've been in. And he said, I've been in this building the last 2 years. And that match was the best match I've seen in this building. And that was in Toledo, Ohio, like I said. So I appreciate you letting me tell you that story, actually. But that's what happened. And man, it is like two pit bulls going after the same fucking bone. And really, two things were said. Basically, you go and think of some things you do good. I'll think of something I do good. You know my finish. So I knew the finish was a crossface, okay? But the only thing he said to me was, if I grab you by the hair and bend you over, cover up, because I'm going to hit you. I'm going to put my knees to you, and I'm coming at you. And I said, that's all. So the only thing that was said during that match, honestly, we were going at it. He grabbed me by the hair, and as he's pulling me down, he said, knees. But I already knew to cover up because he had already told me if I bend you over to watch the knees. But he had the professional courtesy to remind me knees were coming, so I'm covering up. Other than that, nothing was really said, man.
You know what was freaky about that, Bobby, was.
But thank you for the compliment.
You remember how the commentators were starting off slow because they thought this was just going to be another blow off match, and then all of a sudden they perked up, and they said,
Big Dusty perked up, started putting it over. He said, "I'm a Bobby Blaze fan," you know.
Yeah, he was like, these two want to kill each other. Like, man.
No one knew what was in Chris and I. No one knew how intense Chris was that night, except for me, because of the way he first approached me. But also, I knew it wasn't in a threatening way. You know, it was a respectful way because of what took place. And then no one knew after the fact why that match was like it was until rumors started going like, hey, Chris spoke up for Bobby in that meeting, told him all they're a bunch of fucking assholes, I'll wrestle, you know. And Taylor, Arn, none of them guys even knew. None of the war room people, the road agents even knew, you know.
Well, you put a work on them. I mean, that was wonderful. And
thank you.
It was something where you remember back stuff like that, and you love surprises. You love stuff like that. It's just like you're like, because Benoit was he was a terror in the ring. So for you to go toe to toe with him, it was beautiful, you know. And it was something where everybody to this day, me and my buddies, we still talk about that match.
Thank you.
Because it's just
I really appreciate that. And I had a lot of respect for Chris, and I wrote a little bit about him. I didn't put anything of the personal side. I just, you know, that's it's a bad, you know, so I'm not going to go to that part of the personal life. But on a professional level, like I said, I had known him from Australia. We had hit the gym together several times. We had a lot of mutual respect. Plus, he knew I was, you know, he already knew right away that Dean had trained me. He knew I was an upfront guy, that if he had a problem with me, he could come to me and talk to me. We had spoken enough that, you know, there was everything was, you know, it's business only. I'd hung out with them in Florida during the Disney tapings. You know, you go out and we're at certain places, and after the gym or after you work out, you're sitting around having a beer, and you just like, you know, hey, you know, good matches today or something like that. We weren't like best buddies, nothing like that, but as a matter of fact, it was mutual respect of, he's going to do his thing, I'm going to do my thing. And when he saw that, what happened in that war room, he stood up for it and said no. And then he come to me. He come right to me. Like I said, dude, he was right on top of me, but then again, in a non-threatening manner. But I was like, what's up? You know, and I stood up, and I'm a little bit taller than him. And I'm like, what's up, Chris? You know? And he said, I just want to talk to you. And he started getting that intense. He started getting lower in his voice to bring me in, and I was listening, you know. And he goes, we're going to go out there tonight. And like I said, he said, we're going to tear it down. We're going to work hard. And he just, and so, like I said, Dean and Eddie were to my right, and they started kind of coming towards us. And Chris just kind of looked, and they stopped. And then when he walked away, they come to me they said, hey, is everything all right? And I was like, yeah, you know, it's cool. You know, same thing with Scott. I was like, it's good, man.
But that's the thing that I don't understand. I never found Mongo. I don't like. I just didn't get his wrestling. He
Yeah.
couldn't.
Well, he's a legitimate tough guy. He's an NFL player and all that, so there's nothing but respect for that.
Yeah.
But as far as wrestling, he was just a big, strong guy.
Yeah.
You wasn't going to whip his ass. You wasn't going to move him unless he wanted to go. But he did what the big man stuff could do. You know, I don't want to discredit him or talk bad to him. He was actually pretty good to me a lot of times on the road. Just say he'd have a masseuse with him, and there'd be some girl. Hey, pay $20, and they'd give you a rub. Now, no, nothing business wise. You know, nothing personal, just business only. But I could have had that kind of match with him, and I'm glad I didn't have to work with him, because to me, he's big and strong and clumsy as fuck, and I've got to do all the work, and then I'm probably going to be the one getting hurt. You know what I'm saying?
That's the thing that I remember. I love shoot interviews, and I was watching Disco Inferno, and he was talking about wrestling Ric Flair. Now, you could love him or hate him or whatever you want from Ric Flair. I think he's one of the best of all time. Okay.
Oh yeah.
So, but he said something that was really cool that I didn't know. He said it was the first time when he wrestled him, he never had another guy lead him like in a dance, like kind of like putting you in certain positions, kind of, you know, making you look good. Kind of, and he said he never had that he was like, I was in there with somebody, like a different animal, you know, like this guy was like, this guy was Mr. Wrestling in there. So he said it was like, it was this surreal moment wrestling him. And for him just to, you got to remember, he's had thousands and thousands of matches. So he's wrestled so many different people. So his style is kind of, you know, you know, his dance was, I'm leading and you follow, okay, and we'll be fine, and that's all. Let's be safe. We don't.
I'm a huge Ric Flair fan. I'm gonna tell you this, just at the Disney tapings, you'd go for or Universal tapings in Florida, you go for 10 or 12 days at a time, and it'd be 5 matches or 5 shows per day, starting at like 10 a.m. till 6 p.m. On the last night on a Sunday that we were recording, it was Ric Flair and Brad Armstrong, okay? Worldwide TV matches, all it was, not a big main event or anything. It was a main event for that particular show. Brad Armstrong was so smooth and unbelievable, it's unreal. But here's Ric Flair, the greatest, you know. And so there's only a few people in the locker room because everyone's trying to get flights out of Orlando. Well, I was in that last taping. And so it was guys like Jericho and Benoit, Malenko, myself, the Armstrongs. There's about 20 guys still in the building that always kind of hung out together in a semi-fashion, not a big clique, but, you know, we always knew each other well enough that we was on the road, we hooked up. So they went in there and they put on a fucking clinic. There's about 300 people permitted in those worldwide tapings. They just get them off the Universal lot and bring them in like a show. But Flair and Armstrong being so fucking professional, we were watching it and we were getting chills and clapping and stuff. And the Duros on the other side of the curtain, you know, when they came through, we gave them a standing ovation. You know, it was just because you watched Flair and one of the best. And another story on that, we were in Lake Charles, Louisiana, with Brad Armstrong, and we were getting out of the car. We got out of the car, we're walking up this ramp. A security guard was there, and he said, "Hey, man, Brad Armstrong." And he goes, "Hey, how you doing?" And Brad, you know, had worked on TBS for years and years. And he goes, "Man," he goes, "the last time I saw you in this building, you wrestled Ric Flair in a main event, and that was 20 years ago." And Brad was like, "Man, you're right. You're right. Thank you." Brad went over, shook the guy's hand, started talking to him. You know, that guy remembered something from 20 years. It's like, that'd have been like, you know, 88 or something, you know, and Brad and that guy remember that fucking match, you know, a main event in his hometown. You know, it's like maybe when you saw it in Toronto or something. You know, there's something about it when like Disco was saying, Flair was, just leading the dance, man, but he's a different animal on a different level. And when you got someone as talented as what Disco's talented, I've worked with him several times. I've worked with Glenn before on independent and on TBS stations. But Brad and whoever Flair's there with, whether it be George South or whatever, he'd go in and make everyone look good. So
Yeah.
I agree with that dance. I love it.
Yeah. I mean, I think there's a thing that, I mean, you know what it's like? It's kind of a tribute to this. Have you ever watched this show called Cobra Kai?
I'm saving it. My son and I just spoke about this. I know there's coming into the third season just came out. I'm actually saving it for this winter, to be honest with you. I've kind of I've not watched it on purpose because one of my sons asked me to watch it with him. So, and he's in town for the next couple of weeks.
It's like crack cocaine to me. Anyways,
I've heard nothing but good stuff about it.
It's wonderful. But the secret of its success is it hits this nerve in your mind that makes you remember something beautiful.
Yeah.
Okay? And when you watch a strong, good match, it will always stick with you. Years later, I'll be with my buddy and I'll go, hey, do you remember such and such? And he's like, yeah, we were 16,
Yeah.
And you remember it like it was yesterday because it was such a wonderful match. And I watch, like with my son, we'll watch, like I already know who's going to win because I've already seen the match. But he'll sit there and go, okay, like I'll be, he'll be, I'll be Buzz Sawyer, and my son will be like the jobber, and I'll go, no, son, you want to be Buzz Sawyer. Trust me on this. and we have the TV set up that he could see, and he's doing all the moves, and he's beating me up, and I'm jobbing out for my son, and it's just this beautiful bond of, I mean, my dad was never a big wrestling fan, but when he became a wrestling fan, the first time he saw, actually a few times, he would watch Superstar Billy Graham.
Yeah, okay.
And Superstar, I remember when I was a kid going, Dad, how much can that guy lift? And my dad said, my dad's exact words were, anything he wants.
Yeah.
I mean, he was just a beast. And then when Savage, my dad loved Savage, and I'm like, Dad, and I know why he liked Savage so much, because of how intense, how scary he was, how he would tell you that, that whole, that whole, what I'm going to do to you, and you did me wrong. It was just this poetic, it was like this poetic chainsaw of anger,
When I was 14 or 15 years old, the ICW was just 2 hours from me in Lexington, and that was Intercontinental Championship Wrestling, or International Championship, and the Papos owned it. And so when I was 15, Savage finally came. They teased him on TV for about a year, and they had all these monthly talents in Kentucky, so a little bit of Missouri out west, a little bit western Kentucky rather, a little bit over into West Virginia and this eastern part where I'm at. But once a month they would come. So about 12 months of that build-up on TV, but Savage wasn't going to the buildings yet. He was only doing the promos, beating people up on TV. And by the time he came, I remember being 15 years old, and the Macho Man was coming to all the arenas, around this area, or actually National Guard armories and the high school gyms is where they worked at. But that fucking intensity and that build and the build up, and then you saw the talent in the ring, you're like, oh my, I mean, you were seeing something. I remember seeing the first time I saw him live, like you were talking about that Cobra Kai, whatever it is. Like I said, we almost started watching the other night, but he has to leave town for like another week. When he gets back, we're going to get into it, he said. But anyway, it's one of those things where I remember the very first time I saw the Macho Man in person after watching him every Saturday night for a year, 12 months, 13 months, whatever the buildup was for him to start making the house shows. Yeah, and it's just like you said, your dad, as soon as he saw superstar Billy Graham, you knew then, it's one of that you remember that moment that you spent with your father. That's what something about, like, to go back to promote my book real quick. When I sign an autograph to my book, I always tell people, always remember the good times that professional wrestling brought to you, because at some point, that you went to a show, or if you watched it on TV, there's a good memory you're sharing. Like you shared a moment with me just now about your dad. You remember that you was a fan, he wasn't. Then all of a sudden, like, now I remember when he was and who he liked, Macho Man, Superstar Graham. There's always those good memories. You and your buddy being 16 years old, saying, yeah, I remember that match. We were 16, it's fucking, you recall it. Like you said, something hits you there, in the neck, or that feeling or what have you. So I always put that in. I always put two things. Of course, I try to personalize it and to a person's name or whatever they want in there. But the two things I always put to them, always remember the good times of professional wrestling brought to you, and I always put life's best. Because, and I put that in there for years because someone, when I was a teenager, had an actor and actress had sent me a fan mail I sent out, and it just came back and said, life's best to you. And I thought, oh, wow, man. And I took it because I'm like, that person had a vested interest. And I took it personal. Of course, it was just probably stamped, or she probably had some fan letter paid, PayPal thing, or not PayPal, pen pal things, someone paying to do it. But the point was that it made me feel so good that they took the time to return my letter as a fan of this actress, And so I'm like, you know what? The first time I saw an autograph, I said, life's best to you, and I just kind of kept that with you. And that's kind of what I want, especially if now there's a lot of fucked up stuff going in the world, man. You're just kind of like, man, just hopefully you have the best life possible, man. Enjoy the book, enjoy the stories,
Yeah, yeah. My mom she just fell in love with Ric Flair. She just thought, I just thought, what, his wrestling? She goes, no, he's handsome. And I go, Mom, don't eat, that man has had more fun than you could ever. I don't even want to picture it, Mom. Just don't enjoy Ric Flair for Ric Flair. Do not dream of him like a dreamboat. Please do not. I don't need that in my life. But Bobby's book is, and you got to get this book. There's two of them, and they're beautiful. They really are. And
Thank you. Thank you. I'm going to hold the first one up right here. There's the first one.
Pin Me, Pay Me, and We'll Travel.
Have Booth Travel. And the second one is The Educational Wrestler. I kicked out on 2. That's in white, so it's kind of hard to see. But anyway, you can get them both on Amazon, man. Just go to Amazon and they're available in ebook or print copy editions, And if you... I appreciate you plugging them, man. I'm not on any social media except for Twitter, where you and I met. I'm at Bobby Blaze 744, and I want to thank you, the amazing Vito, for this video. Because we just started talking, and you was like, "Can I interview you?" And I was like, "DM me, check your DMs." Because I was like, "Yeah, I love doing podcasts. I've been on a bunch of different podcasts. So finally I started, kind of had a couple of different offers, but then Jeremy got with me. He was the one I followed through and said, hey, let's do this and let's call it the Belt to Belt Bobby Blaze. And it's worked out pretty good. We had to take about a 6-month break, about a year ago, but in fact, it was a year ago. We took about a 6-month break, but we're back now. We're consistent. And again, I'm at Bobby Blaze 744 on Twitter. Hit me up there. I'd love to hear from the fans. I don't do a lot of drama on there. I like to have fun. Like I said, life's best. I do talk wrestling, positivity. I like having fun with the bullshit of wrestling, stuff like entertainment, comedy. I'm a big comic fan, so just all those different things, anything. But I'm open to anyone that's listening as a wrestling program, as a book promo. Hit me up on Twitter. I've got a shitload of followers, which I'm really happy for. And I try to follow everyone back and try to interact with anyone that interacts with me. I try to interact on a good way. So, and it's nice meeting you. Thank you.
Oh, it's my pleasure, man. You're doing me a favor. That's the thing about wrestlers uh that I don't think people understand that they like I've met people from all sports, all whatever, but the kindest of them all, the nicest, and these guys are monsters. Okay, are wrestlers. They're
Yeah,
some of the kindest guys you would ever meet.
yeah.
Like they're just like I had the pleasure of meeting Demolition, which I loved when I was a child. These guys were just
Those
I was
guys
like
are good guys.
I was like, man, these it's like talking to my uncle that could still strike me, you know.
Right.
I mean, it was just so wonderful, and it's
Yeah.
just like they're so they know that the fans mean a lot, and they know that they gave you good memories, and they could see it in your eyes that you love them, you
Yeah.
know.
Right
So,
on, man.
and they appreciate that, and
Yeah.
that's something that you were, flipping around YouTube, and I saw you doing your top 10 heels, top 10 baby faces,
Yeah.
and
Yeah.
you go into it, and it's something where, the book, well, the books are wonderful, and the podcast, but also, you also have the YouTube stuff that you do. Uh,
Yeah,
that
the YouTube stuff's available. We have about 1.6 million views. Sadly, the person doing our YouTube channel passed away. Um, Jeremy and I were doing a podcast, and then we had a gentleman by the name of Tex Johnson that was doing the YouTube stuff for us, who had been doing some production, uh, graphic art and stuff. And sadly, man, just some things happened. He passed away. Rather, he got sick and passed away. So we're trying to get the rights to that YouTube because it was between all three of us. So nothing new has been added, but the stuff that is up there, there's about 85 to 100 videos, and it's all really good stuff. Top 10 managers, top 10 announcers, top 10 baby faces, heels, regional baby faces,
yeah,
territories, and then we're trying to start a new one. Jeremy is that will hopefully get some more stuff up there, including our most recent podcast. But we come out every Tuesday morning. It comes out about midnight Eastern time. So usually most people on the East Coast are getting it sometime Tuesday morning by the time they get up. We just done. Who did we just do? J.J. Dillon, and then we're getting ready to go to the Carolinas. Then we're going to do a special on Ric Flair. That's going to be the way we're doing this season is we're doing a manager, a territory, and then a big star from that territory. And then we've got some other stuff we're working on. That we do go back to like an original top 10. We'll do a Valentine's special, some things like that. We've done a Christmas and New Year. Well, yeah, we fucked off on New Year's, but we did Thanksgiving, Christmas, and New Year's. We'll do a Valentine's special, and we like to have fun on there, man. We do. We don't try to kill anyone or shit on anyone. We try to have fun with it, and we promote the books, of course, and promote the YouTube channel. But and we always try to give everyone else a plug. For an example, next week's show, I'll definitely be putting over the amazing Vito. That hey, be looking out for it or whatever, and look for your channel. I'll give out your links. If you want to send me any other links, if you got Facebook and Instagram or anything else you have, I don't care to promote those things. It's just my choice. I got off of those several years ago, and I stuck with just Twitter. I just don't have enough. I fuck off enough without having to. I can't. I get addicted to that stuff too quick. So I said I'm gonna have one thing, and this is it. And I chose Twitter.
yeah,
Right
yeah.
or wrong, that's what I stuck with. But if you have anything you want promoted, you send it to me when we get off of here, and I'll next day or two, and then next week's podcast I'll put you over, give you the shout out because. I appreciate the opportunity to get here and promote my books and to meet you and have good fun about professional wrestling, something we both love and enjoy.
I appreciate it, Bobby. Real,
Thank
real
you.
quick. These are just something I wanted to ask you real quick.
Sure.
I do this with all the wrestlers, but
Okay.
if there's one I want to ask you from in your chapter, you got just in one of your chapter, you've got uh, like when, so you wanted to be a wrestler.
Yeah. Well, so that's in the second book, right?
Right.
Yeah.
So
Uh,
so you wanted to be a wrestler. Give just a quick little, so you want to be a wrestler. Say what that's about.
mm, basically, um, and in my mind was like an old timer or someone more experienced, and you're like, how do I get in this professional wrestling business? How do I get into this game? And when you finally do get a chance, someone says something like, so you want to be a wrestler, kid? It's kind of like the old
Yeah.
Carney guy, like, so you want to be a wrestler, kid? So that was the idea of it. And I'm like, in my 50-year-old mind, thinking I didn't do it till several years later. I didn't, it took several years to get there. But that was my thinking of it, is like, but also like this is what I want to do, and I'm not going to let anything stop me from doing it. But I need a way to get there. So that was my plan A, was I want to be a professional wrestler. Now, in order to do that, I went to college some, and I had like 1 year left when I finally got into wrestling. Was like, okay, I finally came back and did finish my degree at university. I did that for my grandmother as much as I did for myself, my personal life. But yeah, it's like, who in her fucked up mind wants to be a professional wrestler? So it's like, so you want to be a wrestler, do you? And you're like, yeah, I'll do it, with no preconceived notion other than that's the baddest motherfucker walks down the street with the long blonde hair, the tan, or the guy with the face paint, or Samoa, whoever it is. You're like, that's, so it's one of those things. It's all.
Oh, I just wanted it for the women. I mean, I would.
Well, pussy's just a side note,
Well, you say that when you get a lot of it. So
I used to. sometimes more than others. I've been single for, like, I was married for several years, but I didn't get married till I was 30. So there's a lot of years right there. And then I was married for several years, but I've been divorced for like 15 years. So there's a lot of opportunity, especially when I was younger, man, not to brag or anything. But then also, like, I've been accused of being a swinger, because I don't know if you saw the swingers video, but there's a swingers club in this town, and I haven't ever even been there. But people like, he's got to be, which I don't care. I take it with a grain of salt. I love it. I don't care.
Bobby, I had to do a show. This is for real. And the woman that had the comedy club, the downstairs was the used to be a bar.
Yeah.
It closed down, and but they would have parties down there, and the top floor was the comedy club. And she told me, hey, you wanna work? You want to do a corporate? And I go, okay, yeah, sure, no problem. They usually pay really well.
Yeah.
She goes, well, this is like $1,500. And I'm like, $1,500 to tell jokes? I'm on. And
Right.
she goes, and I go, she goes like this to me. She goes, and she passed away, which sucks, but she goes, do you mind being naked? And I go, you're just playing. And she goes, no, the clients want to know if you could be naked on stage. And I go, there's no way I'm going to be naked on stage. It's cold down there, I'm not going to go to. So she goes, it's a swingers club.
Yeah, right on, man.
I had to do a show for a bunch of swingers. And, and they were naked, Bobby. And it was the weirdest thing in the world. But I mean, yeah, the good old days. So, hey, all right, here. I don't want to.
Anyway, you go on.
All right, so here it is. Just real quick I agree with Bobby Heenan when they say they showed everybody the tricks. I go, they did. They completely, when you tell people, when you show everybody the tricks. I do comedy magic, so it's like a magician telling. I go, hey Bobby, you know how I did it?
Look, I don't want to know.
I don't want to know.
That's right. Once you give your business away, you have nothing left to sell. I go to a show today, an independent show or a comedy show or a magic show. I don't want to know. I'm there because I want to be entertained and enjoy comedy. I'm a huge fan of comedy. I'm a huge fan of wrestling. Magic, I'm a big mark for magic. So I don't want to know. Don't show me. If it's a trick. Don't show me the card trick. I want to be amazed. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah, exactly. I remember Bobby Heenan saying that, and it just broke my heart because he was right. You
Yeah,
know,
to
he
give it
was
all
right.
away.
You know,
Yeah.
you don't show people your tricks. You know?
Right.
So these are just some questions here.
Sure.
What's your before you go? What's your favorite pie?
Pecan pie. I like Burnett's a lot, but I'm a Southern pecan pie is my favorite. I'm a big pie guy, man.
And I love pie too. I mean,
Yeah, for sure.
I worked in a bakery. I'd make pies, and
Yeah.
I'd eat half of them. So,
Yeah.
and what's your favorite? Do you have a favorite show?
Favorite show?
Yeah.
Oh man, nothing right now that comes to. I'm a big podcast listener right now. You know, I have some past favorite shows on this. Probably my favorite show right now is the Goldbergs. I like that, but I was like a huge Sopranos fan. Homicide: Life on the Street. There's nothing right now that I'm watching regular that I have a favorite show of. To be honest, I mostly podcast lately. To be honest with you. So,
and if you had a song a song that spoke to you, what would that be? Like your song that just spoke about you?
Man, I've had like, I don't know, just probably like in my books, like every wrestler probably, Turn the Page, you've been out on that road by Bob Seger. Being from the South, this really has nothing to do with being from the South, just a good ass song. It's Free Bird. I mean, you're just out there, you leave here, I like Joey Ramone's version of It's a Wonderful World, Comfortably Numb comes to mind sometimes, but also Wish You Were Here comes to mind sometimes, depending on my mood. I like, man, they broke up. I wish they get back together. There's this new band. They've been out for several years with Bishop Gunn. I'm a huge Bishop Gunn fan. They have a song, Shine or Making Time and things like that. But yeah, I'm going to go old school and say, probably Turn the Page. That'd be my go-to.
Yeah. So. It's weird. I was just listening to some Pink Floyd. That's my son's favorite group. He's like, Dad, what? He's like, these guys on, like, they're on something. Like, I don't know. And I'm like, yeah, it's called Acid, son.
Yeah. So, that's when music was good.
Yeah, that's when God, with acid, anything's good. So, what's your favorite car?
My favorite car? Fuck. I honestly don't have a favorite car. I had to say probably if I had it, it'd be a 57 Chevy or a 71 Chevelle. I like those two models of cars if you're going old school with me, but there's nothing out there right now. I'm just glad to have the car I have that gets me to and fro, and that's all I need because I'm not trying to go anywhere right now. The store and the beer store. But yeah, I'd go 57 Chevy and a 71 Chevelle. I really like those cars a lot.
Yeah, they had my dad had a 68 Camaro.
All right. Yeah, that's a nice car. That's when they made fucking cars. You know what I'm saying? The 60s, early 70s stuff, they lost in the 80s and 90s. So nothing against cars out there today. They're wonderful. I see some awesome vehicles, but there's nothing out there that I want. I'd get me some probably SUV, honestly.
They look like shoes.
Yeah.
There's no styling to them. There's no.
Yeah.
And what's your favorite color?
Blue. Yeah. Blue. Yeah.
And what's your favorite movie?
Oh man, you're probably going to not believe this. Taxi Driver from 1976, Robert De Niro is my favorite movie. Pulp Fiction's number 2. Godfathers put together 1 and 2 would be number 3. Yeah, that's my top 3. Number 1 though, I'm old school. I saw way back in the day, I saw Taxi Driver and that discontent that he had, just that Travis Bickle. And I was like, just something clicked. So yeah, Taxi Driver from 76.
Yeah, I love that part. Yeah, I remember when I saw it the first time where he's watching TV and it's going back and forth on his leg.
Remember? Yeah. Oh yeah.
And he finally snaps when he just lets go of it and the TV falls. He gets up and he starts, looking for heads to shoot. So, all right. And
Apocalypse Now is in my top 5, just so you know.
What's that?
Apocalypse Now.
Apocalypse Now. Yeah, that is an awesome.
That's one of my top 5 also.
The book is awesome. It was called Hearts of Darkness.
Yeah, Joseph Conrad. I read that book. Yes, excellent book. Very good book.
And then last question, who was your crush growing up? Now it could be in the business or out of the business, but did you have a crush?
Oh man, I'm like Marsha Brady, something like that. I could say that, but yeah, I goof with some people. We was talking about. Sadly, we just lost Dawn Wells, so like you say, Mary Ann from Gilligan's Island or something. But yeah,
that sucked.
my go-to. First of all, I like dark hair and dark eyes, but early when I was younger, I was blonde hair, blue eye, and so probably Marsha Brady, Marie McCormick. Probably Marsha. But yeah, then I'm in the business. I didn't really, I've hung out with and met so many of the different girls in the business and stuff. I didn't really have a crush on one person, so to say, at any particular point. Right now, I've got a big fan crush on Thunder Rosa. I think she's awesome, and I'm wishing her nothing but the best in her future career. But it's not like the crush that I had on like Marsha Brady,
Right. Remember, God, I had a crush on Medusa.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. Wow. That's a good one.
Beautiful. Such a beautiful woman. Strong. She could wrestle. She did it all.
Yeah.
She could stretch me.
That's a good one. That's a good one, man.
Man, I would. All right. So, folks, we've been talking to Bobby Blaze. I want to thank you, sir.
Yes. Thank you.
And here are his books, please. They're on Amazon. Pin Me, Pay Me. Have Boots, Will Travel. That's one of them. And the second one, I kicked out in 2, The Education of a Wrestler. So you gotta, hey, it's COVID, man. If you want to read a good book, a real book, get these books, and it goes to a great guy.
Thank you.
When I saw Bobby on Twitter, he had no idea that I was a fan. I was a mark, as they say. So
we're all marks.
when I saw him, I just thought, no way, and thank you for those wonderful memories. You live on because of those memories. And I tell that to people. I tell that to my son. I go, when you watch something and it means something to you, right?
Yeah.
Hey man, going fishing or whatever. You have these wonderful memories that as you get older, that's all you got.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
When you're working a shitty job, all you got to think back is those memories to keep you making it through that day. Okay.
Yeah.
So I want to thank you for those wonderful memories. And you are a wonderful, kind, gentle-hearted person.
Thank you. My pleasure. My pleasure. I'm glad you think that. That means a lot to me.
Well,
appreciate that.
It's the truth, Bobby.
Yeah.
So,
thank you,
folks. Follow him on Twitter, and I'm going to put a link. And buy the books. You will not be disappointed. Thank you, Bobby. Be good, okay?
My pleasure. Wish you well, my friend.
I'll talk to you soon.
Yes, sir.
How'd that go?
Good. I'm happy.